know if you can tell, but I'm not really awake. But that's why they made caffeine. Nectar of the gods. Anyway, today we have some goodies. Today we have some work. Today we have today. All right, let's get started. A lot of goodies arrived today. Whiteline adjustable 30mm sway bar. Been really excited for this. Unfortunately, what I have to do with this thing is I can't just bolt the sway bar. I actually have to unbolt the whole front subframe, drop the subframe down, then bolt it into its little cradle, because you can see it's GM. They don't care. One other problem that I have with the sway bar, which is pretty easy fix for me. These will work with factory mounts. However, they will not work with the BCs. Let me show you why. So as you saw, those just bolt straight up into something. The BCs have a tab straight off the side. But easy fix. With my BCs came these wonderful, beautiful things. So we're going to try these. We're going to see if those will fit. If they don't fit, however, if I'm having fitment issues, something's binding somewhere, I will get rid of those. I'll just get some universal adjustable ones and run with those and make those work. Next up, we'll look at the fuel cell. I want to look at the fuel cell. So next up, we have the beautiful fuel cell, RCI. It is an SFI tank, meaning, one, it has a rollover valve. It has a flapper, but inside it has a bladder in it. So inside this tank is just a big bag of gas, basically. And that's what's required for FD and clutch kickers and all kinds of other stuff. This is the pickup tube. I really like the pickup tube design in this because this actually runs back here and has a tube that actually drops down. One thing I do need to add to this, however, is I need to put a return feed. Probably going to put it right about here. This is my rollover vent. It is vented. It does have like the little rollover bead in it. But I'm thinking if I just put the return feed right here, that's going to be perfectly fine. The fuel cell, 100% going in the trunk. Nothing out of the ordinary about that. So it's going to sit. It actually comes out pretty close to the end. I'm not a big fan of that. But the way I'm going to do is I'm going to do a straight bar across, bar on the back, and then obviously, box on the sides and give it some under supports. I'm going to build a couple little bars off of the frame here and here so that it has a little extra support, but it's still kind of a crash structure. If I take a good hit here, I back into a wall, it should be able to actually shift all that shit over and not hurt the fuel cell at all. That is the factory hole that they ran the fuel lines through. I honestly think I'm going to go right back through there. Really thinking that's the best bet. It's got plenty of room. The rear firewall is not going to interfere with it at all or anything. Pretty excited. I'm really excited for this fuel cell. I don't know that I have any square tube. I haven't looked around. I'm probably not going to start working on the frame for this just yet. I'd like to start at the front of the car, work my way back. Right now where we're at, this side's done. I didn't show you guys this. I did spray this with some rubberized coating just to kind of clean it all up and give it a little bit better of a look. But that fender's all folded back. I still need to cut this big bulbous thing off on this side. This side I need to come trim, cut it, fold it all back, weld it up. Take that thing off on this side too. Next, we move inside. I think I'm going to keep this little guy right here. I don't really need to. It doesn't really serve a purpose, but I'm going to go ahead and keep that and then stitch weld that. These all need to be stitch welded in. Basically anything that has a seam, all that, I would like to stitch weld all these holes up, cover those holes. I think I'm going to probably do this ledge right here. Then what I would like to do is actually push the car out, get it out of the way, turn around, bring it back in, and then kind of work opposites. Start on the very back, work my way inwards. Now, onto Michigan Motorsports. Oh, I love seeing engine goodies. So we've got some timing chain, some ARP bolts, a cam retainer plate, just because this little gasket here will get flattened out. It's just one of those things you want to go ahead and replace just to have done. So I've already got my Mellings oil pump on, which is going to come back off. I just kind of wanted it on to look at it and see, make sure everything fit right. The Mellings oil pump is actually a high pressure, low volume pump. Now, I looked at a lot of different oiling options. I looked at AccuSump. I looked at doing a dry sump. I looked at a lot. I was trying to figure it out. I looked at different pans, things like that. After talking to my buddy Jack Davis, a Pro Spec driver, this is actually the oil pump that he uses. Also, on the way here from Jegs is an oil pan baffle kit for my oil pan. So once that stuff gets here, I'll be able to put that in. It's just a drop-in bolt-in oil pan baffle. I'm really excited for that to get here. We got a couple more goodies for the engine showing up, but getting this stuff done means that I can get everything put on, at least get the front of the motor put back together, and go from there. So that's probably going to happen later. What I think I'm going to start with is dropping this front subframe to get the sway bar in. We're going to clean up a little bit around right there and there, because I was planning on taking this out and power washing it once it got a little bit warmer, you know, re-washing that subframe now that everything's completely out of here. I'd like to really get the sway bar in, just so that if and when I'm ready to put the motor and trays back in, I'm ready. I'm good. I don't need to worry about anything. Got a bit of a game plan as to how I'm going to attack this front subframe. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put a jack, get it on the back of this. I realize now I really don't want to take all the coilovers loose and all that to get the whole subframe just completely dropped down, just to bolt that in real quick. So what I would like to do, I'm going to try to get the jack under it, get the jack under the back of that, hold pressure against this, take all 4 of the subframe bolts out, and just kind of slowly let it down and see if I can get this whole thing to just pivot forward and just walk the sway bar in there, bolt it down, and then jack everything back up. That's it. That's all. Cue the montages. Exactly the way I wanted it to, just not. Not 100% how I wanted it to work, but worked. The whole front subframe's unbolted. We got the jack in the back, kind of holding the back of it up so it's not dropping way out. I think that is going to be plenty enough space to get this sway bar in. So let's keep chugging along. I went ahead and cleaned up all the subframe bolts just because of parts cleaner. I like my parts being clean. So after we get done with this, I'm going to go ahead and zap both of the front wheels off. Go ahead and take off those little bulbs and then work on the passenger side, getting that fin kind of cut and all folded back over, and then we'll weld it like we did the other side. Hopefully the whole engine bay wheel well area should be done, and then it should be moving inside into the interior. We'll see if we have time for that, but I would very much like to get to doing a little bit of engine. Did it. It's in there. It's bolted. It looks amazing. Those sway bar links should work perfectly. I'm really excited to have this. I'm excited to have an adjustable sway bar. You know, you can run with no front sway bar. You really can. It's a little bit more work. You have to be a little more exact in your motions. But I mean, if you're just running for fun, grass roots, whatever, you know, I don't want to be able to do that stuff. But I also want to be able to go in, change my grip, affect the way my car runs, and be competitive. Because I do want this to be a competition car. So, we're getting there. On to the next whatever. This little nub does nothing. Like, it serves no purpose. I don't honestly know what it was there from the factory. I guess maybe extra crash protection, but that doesn't really make sense. I got the bottom spot welds cut, so now I just need to get these drilled out, get it off, move on to the other side. I'm going to do the same thing, but the other side I'm going to start with cutting out that kind of fin that comes down the fender well. Get that cut, fold it over, maybe weld it, maybe not. We'll see where I'm at, see how froggy I'm feeling, and then we'll go from there. Got the driver's side done. It's looking really nice. It's got another layer of rubber coating on it right now, but we got that guy out of there. Everything's nice and cleaned up. Oh, look at how much room for activities we have in there. So now we're gonna come over to the other side. I'm gonna go ahead and get it cut, fold that out of the way. Like I said, I try to be mildly respectful. You know, it's Friday night. A lot of people aren't asleep or anything, so I'm not super worried about it, but at the same time, you know, I don't want everybody in a 90-mile radius to hate me because I'm grinding all night. Figured I'd try my hand at a little voiceover work. So what I'm doing here is marking where the very first cut is going to happen. I'm doing this to make sure that it's even with the driver's side, which has already been done. The rest of these cuts, however, don't really matter enough to need to be perfectly symmetrical or anything like that. Come in and grind off any kind of body filler or any residue that's left on this panel before I fold it over. Just trying to make sure I get everything cleaned up as much as possible. Cutting off this little lip that's on this fin right here, just because I don't want to try to grab it and straighten it and then fold it back over. Just zap that lip off real quick with the grinder, come back in here with the pliers and fold everything over. Now, after I get everything folded, I'm going to kind of massage all this down with a hammer. I've got to try to be really careful when doing this just to make sure that I don't push it in too far, especially once we broke out the big guy there. One of the absolute lifesavers behind all this project has been just these bunch of different little wire wheels. They're so good for getting in crevices and just making sure everything's clean. I'm still trying to re-hone in on my welding skills, so I need everything to be as clean as possible. Massaging down all the little corners of this just to make sure everything's sitting flat and pushed over and nice and flush where it needs to be perfect and come out nice. Like I said, this wire wheel has just been my best friend. I bought like a multi-pack of them, and I've been using every single one of them until they're absolutely worn down. Blow all this trash out of here. Come in, and I'm just marking for all the stitch welds of this. I have a ruler. I've just been using that ruler width as how far I want my stitches to be apart, because it's just pretty good depth. And then there's a couple little spots where I just kind of eyeball out where to put it. The stitches aren't super mathematical and precise. Just need to get them marked and make sure that I get them at a good distance apart to make sure that they keep the structures nice and strong. You guessed it, back to wire wheels. This car is just covered in so much seam sealer in so many different spots. It's ridiculous. I'm trying to get this cleaned up nice and good here, though, so that I can see where the actual spot welds are, hit them with the punch real quick, and then be able to come in with the spot weld cutters and get this thing cut off. Personally, I've never been able to find any information on what this thing is even used for, so we're going to get rid of it. The other issue is clearance. Right now, I don't have any issues with it, but I do know of quite a few GTO people who have put much wider wheels on the front, and you will run into clearance issues with this bulb here, and it just doesn't serve a purpose, so... Now that I've got the top of this cleaned up, I can come back in with my little punch and get everything set up to be able to come in with the spot weld cutter. This was a pain. You can see right here, I'm going to get the power hook of the leg on here. I'm switching up all kinds of positions, trying to make sure that I can get enough grip to be able to actually push this bit hard enough to drill in here. The other issue is, I have these nicer spot weld bits. They're kind of like an actual drill bit. One of them, however, first one I got worked perfect. Great, it did good. I worked it until it ran completely down. The little center guide bit of it still works perfect. It still centers it and keeps everything nice. Once it got worn down, I tried to move on to the second one and use my second bit, thinking, oh, no problem there. Immediately breaks the little center guide piece of this bit. So the cutting portion of it works great, but it has no guide, so it wants to walk all over the place. So what I'm actually having to do is use the dull one to dig a bit of a trench to be able to just set the other one into it and let it just go. So I'm just taking that first one, kind of making a groove, and then switching bits with the better cut to actually be able to come in and cut these off. Now you'll notice in a couple spots I do kind of punch through the steel altogether. Originally on the first side I was worried, but once I came in and did this, it's not that bad. It doesn't actually go into the footwell at all. There's a little space between it and the chassis. And now it's time for my favorite game, which spot weld will break off first. This is just a lot of trying to hammer on the pry bar, get it in the right spot, get a good grip on everything, and just go until I can get one popped. Now it's just a matter of manhandling this thing like it owes me money until it comes right off there. Pop that thing off, and then we come in with, wouldn't you guess, more wire wheels. I actually find it pretty funny, the immense amount I've been using wire wheels. I think I've used wire wheels more in the last few months than I have in the entire time I've been turning wrenches on cars, really. Jump back in here with the flap disc. Just make sure that as I'm going along with this flap disc, I'm just coating my drill in as many sparks as possible. There you go, buddy. Trying to make sure that I clean off any kind of burrs on these holes or just any edges that are sharp, because I'm not going to come in and weld this just because it doesn't actually go into the footwell, but I will cut myself up if I leave any sharp edges. We got this side. I got the hump cut off. Now we got this all cut and folded back and cleaned up and ready to throw some welds on. So we're going to break the welder out. We're going to get that welded up. We'll get this stitched. That's going to be it in here on the actual chassis itself for the day. Get that outer side welded. Get the stitches done on that passenger side. And then that's going to be it in there for the day. Just because it's midnight now. And like I said, I work night shifts. I'm up all night. I'm not trying to be super loud at, 1 a.m. I will get this pile of junk cleaned up, and then we will come throw some new parts on here. welded up nice. Welded up that little hole there. She's all good and cleaned up. I could lay paint on her now, but I'm gonna wait until I get this done in here. Throw some stitches on there, stitches on here. And we are done for fabrication. Is all painted up, done, dusted. I don't really care for the brownish kind of tint that stuff has, but we got this all primered. I kind of did a couple different methods of stitch welding. Like I said, this thing doesn't really matter. It's just kind of to add a little more rigidity, so I just kind of wanted to mess around, try some different stitches. Little plug welded there, hole welded there, hole welded there. I probably won't even grind those down, honestly, to be 100% honest. Stitches over there. Man, I accomplished a lot. Accomplished a lot today. Just getting the sway bar felt really good. The amount of other stuff that I got, I'm stoked. It's coming along. A lot of the fab work's coming along. Pretty soon I'll have it all knocked out, and it's just a matter of, you know, some bigger fab projects and then putting it all together. Man, body's gonna need a little fitment work. The hood's gonna have to get trimmed to fit the intake. I still haven't decided. Originally, I kind of wanted to just go filter straight off of the intake, but I don't know if that's what I want. So I was just gonna have, not that guy, obviously. I was just gonna have a K&N filter. It's got a 15-degree angle, so it just slopes just a little bit. You know, that would be peeking out of the hood and stuff, but I just don't know. I don't know if that's what I want. I am sticking with a front mount radiator, so I might go that route still, keep the filter, let it poke out a bit, because I am doing air density tune. I'm not going to deal with the math and all that. I'm just going to do air density. So, you know, I could fit like an intake down and up here. I just don't know that's worth the hassle. I don't know that that's really what I want. So I might just go the filter route and just run it for a year or so and see how it does. And, you know, if it needs to be changed, it'll be changed. We'll trim out the vent to fit the intake. I still need to get a windshield. I got a lot that still needs to happen, and a bunch more engine parts coming next week. Oil pan baffle is back ordered, so I think it's gonna take a couple more weeks before it actually ships out, and it'll ship straight from the manufacturer. So kind of sucks, but yeah, it's whatever. All right, kids, try not to hate me. After working on this, I've been really thinking about it, and I kind of decided I don't want to do the engine just yet, just because I want the other parts to get here. There's really no point in me taking it apart, putting it back together, taking it apart again. I'm just going to wait till the other parts get here, really, and we'll throw that in with the next video. So, I hope you guys enjoyed what you got to see. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys keep subscribing, and show this to everyone you meet, people in the store, people on the street. Throw your phone at them and tell them to follow me on YouTube. Thank you.